Hello guys, and welcome to a new Steel Division video today by me, Vulcan. Today I have for you a 4 versus 4 on Odon, and in this one I'm going to be playing the 16th Luftwaffe after it was requested live on stream. This was a game that was played live on stream, and if you'd like to see that and you are a patron, you can do so by going to my Patreon page. I will, of course, be having more live gameplays on the channel that aren't Patreon only in the future, but this time round it's going to be a replay commentary of this game, and I'm going to be joined by Gonzo on my team with the Panzer Lehr, Barber Papa with the 17th SS Panzer Grenadier, and Silhouette with the 12th SS Panzer. On the opposing side, we have Paradox Obscurus once again with the 15th Infantry Scots. Dagger 1 Bravo swapped sides and is playing with the 101st Airborne. We have Homestead with the 3rd Canadian Infantry and Steve Budd with the 101st. So a nice variance of divisions as always. 201st is interesting, and I guess it kind of suits the map. In the centre area where there's a lot of forest, there's going to be plenty of airborne rifles and engineers, and I would most likely expect to see the same over here, or maybe even around the town area. But we are playing from the Axis side today, so let's go to my perspective, and we were trying to sort out where exactly we were going. I was talking to McKirk about holding the defence beacon here on this bridge, and yeah, Baba Papa there making sure that he was going to do so. But on this left side, basically I've got to cover these two bridges and I should be okay. So that's what I was going to go for at the start of this. So let's speed it up. We'll get some units down on the ground. Gonzo's going to be taking the right side with his Panzer Lehr. This should be actually quite nice. If he uses some Panzer or Flam Panzers, he might be able to get them through the town and mash up some of the infantry in there. That might work out quite well. But we're going to be starting with the Flak 88 in this one. That 88 going to be moving up and taking up position on this left side. And the reason I'm putting it there and not anywhere else is because it's just out of the 1,000 meter range before this bridge. So any tanks or anything that comes over here is not going to be in range to fire back at the 88. But the 88 is going to be able to destroy it. And due to this being 16th Luftwaffe, the 88s you get in Phase A are actually 2-star veterancy. So you can see the deployment was actually pretty long in this one, but I'll just talk through some of my units, other units, as soon as possible. We've got a couple of Luftwaffe Jäger. We've got the command infantry to go with those. A couple of Luftwaffe Jäger on the left side as well, with a Panzerschreck actually. And then I have a Flak Panzer Bren and an AT gun for the right side. And this was going to try and sneak up into this tree line or into this tree line, so that any vehicles that came down from this bridge would get destroyed in the open down there. And that would allow me to then push forward some more infantry. I did also opt to go for some recon as well in the form of Fusiliers, so you'll see them come out to play as we move forwards in this game. So I was going to play this pretty slow, and the Luftwaffe, they kind of have a bit of a hard time pushing until Phase B. So the idea of my Phase A was basically just to sort of solidify my position, maybe probe where I can, like by that I mean push forwards infantry squads that can take ground without necessarily engaging the enemy. So that's kind of what I was going for throughout this one. I'm just going to be occupying these buildings with the Luftwaffe Jäger and the Luftwaffe Führer. I've got a Luftwaffe Fusilier here to give me some recon onto what's going on, and then some Luftwaffe Jäger pushing up into this tree line area here. Now I probably should have had another Luftwaffe Führer accompanying these two Luftwaffe Jäger, but I ended up not. And my 88 didn't really get into position in time, so that allowed this M22 Locust to kill off the Flak Panzer Bren. Now, enemy mortars are going to be firing away, and they're actually firing into this compound, which was quite scary because I have my 88 here, I've just unloaded it, I don't have a vehicle to move it again, and they've just showed that they have 2 mortars in range. Not very nice. But that M22 getting lucky so far. Trying to get out of there. And my 88 sort of starting to roll forwards. So just trying to get the line of sight really to kill it off. But the mortar's really becoming an issue. So just get the line of sight, track's broken, falling back, that'll do for now. Because we have other things to worry about. Double mortar and a Mustang coming in. 88 actually manages to finish off the M22. And, well, we start to take quite a lot of damage. And getting the hell out of there with that 88. Crazy stuff. I'm surprised that the Mustang didn't actually do more damage. But finally I have my command coming up. And that should help my Luftwaffe Jaeger engage the airborne engineers a little better. I've also got this squad arriving, and that's going to help deal with the Pathfinders. Now these Luftwaffe Jaeger, they do have the MG15s, and they sound pretty damn meaty, but they're very good at like pinning down squads at long ranges, and those Pathfinders there finding themselves without any morale and are going to surrender. I'm also bringing up this Flak Panzer Bren to directly engage the airborne engineers here, because at this range Flak Panzer Bren will melt them, and the airborne engineers can't really fire back unless they get into the 100-meter range. So again, you can see the example I was talking about. Luftwaffe Jaeger doing a lot of morale damage to these airborne engineers as they push forwards. Unfortunately, second squad of airborne engineers on this side is going to get into range to force back my Luftwaffe Jaeger there. They're in range of a command squad though, so they're not going to surrender, but still not an ideal engagement. Some reinforcing airborne rifles get caught out by my Flak Panzer, which is nice to see, and since these Luftwaffe Fusiliers on the right side have pushed up so far, I'm moving up a unit to accompany. Now Silhouette broke through quite hard here, but has got his 259 and 258 in a pretty sticky situation. But if he can get a hold on that town, that's going to definitely allow him to play around that for the rest of the game. Now engineers come into range to attack my Pak 38 with their rifles, but I do have the Flak Panzer Bren here of course with the 2-star veterancy, so that's going to be very good at hitting those infantry squads as I engage them with my Luftwaffe Führer. So normally I would say don't engage enemy infantry with these sort of command squads. However, in this case it kind of makes sense, because I need to reveal the location of the airborne engineers in order for my Flak Panzer Brens to do their work. I've got plenty more infantry on the way here. Going to be a bunch more Luftwaffe Jaeger. Airborne rifles starting to engage those. So we're going to be having 3 machine guns on target there. Look how quickly those airborne rifles get pinned down. And there's the airborne engineers. They're going to be getting the flames onto my Luftwaffe Führer. But 2 Flak Panzer Brens waiting for the fire support. And before the Luftwaffe Führer even gets pinned down, the airborne engineers are dealt with. So quite a nice job there I've done of cleaning out at least 2 squads of airborne engineers so far. I'm still pushing through here as well. And yeah, just doing a pretty damn decent job. I find it cool like how when those units are in the water there, the water splashes come up from your Flak Panzer Bren attacking into it. Yeah, these Luftwaffe Jaeger, they're going to be continuing to move up now, since the Luftwaffe Fusiliers are so close to that road. A Spitfire Mark 9 comes in and bombs out Barber Papa's Nebelwerfer. It flies over my own AA, and I do have this Flak 88 and the 2 Flak Panzer Brens, but the Flak Panzer Brens lose line of sight as they are tucked so close to the tree line here. I'm keeping them behind the tree line, mainly because there is the M22 Locust. However, I can kind of play around the line of sight, so I'm going to try and do that. As this Luftwaffe Jaeger moves forwards and the airborne rifles come into range, Flak Panzer Bren should be able to do some damage. I'm just kind of waiting for my Pak 38 to get across and then shoot the M22. But where they currently stand, they should be able to help him down. And I probably should have had this second Flak Panzer Bren move over as well. But I wanted to have something here in case infantry attack me from the left side, because I need to protect this Pak 38 until it gets into range of the M22. Now on my side of things, I've actually done a pretty good job of pushing past the 50-50. The 50-50 is generally here, so me getting up here with the Luftwaffe Jäger is looking promising. Now the P-51 Mustang, that's actually going to drop some bombs onto my Flak Panzer Bren. And since they didn't have line of sight to attack it before it dropped the bombs, it landed pretty accurately and actually ended up taking out my Pak 38 as well, which was annoying. On this left side, Luftwaffe Jäger going to be hitting the M3 gun. Airborne Engineers going to be opening fire with their M1 Garants, but the Luftwaffe Jäger at this range, 6 HE on target, should be able to do quite a lot of damage to the M3 gun. And I am going to purposefully target that to make sure it goes down. Pak 38 takes out the M22. Mortars coming in to deal with the Airborne Engineers, and that's going to allow the Luftwaffe Jäger to win that engagement. Now on this side, after Silhouette pushed through so hard, it did suffer a bit of assailant to the enemy as they crossed through this forest area, but has managed to recover it, and on this far right side, Gonzo's pushing through very, very hard. So teammates doing very well in this game so far. Fusiliers and Luftwaffe Jäger trying to deal with this 30 cal. I actually had these Fusiliers on return fire just so that they could recover some of their morale. But there's 2 more infantry squads now arriving that I'm going to have to deal with. And those are from the 3rd Canadian player. So the further I get, the more I'm going to be dealing with reinforcements from 2 players. My Flak Panzer Bren's moving back forwards after being bombed out. I've got a couple of Panzerschreck squads on the way and a new Flak Panzer Bren to support any infantry as I continue to move forwards. Now, in this situation, these squads are just completely outnumbered. Like, there's a Bofors on the left side, they've got 2 rifle squads on the right side, and the 30 cal firing away. So just going to be trying to move those infantry squads out of there. Engineers finally being taken out thanks to the 88 and the Flak Panzer Bren, and I was very surprised that this 88 actually lasted so long. The fact that they had 2 mortars here and they didn't end up killing the Flak 88 was actually a miracle. I think it was also due to the fact that I had my own 80mm mortars though to kind of counter battery. Now the Pak 38, that's going to be mortared a little bit, as it does come into line of sight of those airborne leaders, but the airborne leader, they suffer as the Flak Panzer Brens get on target. Again, Flak Panzer Bren on this side, going to be hammering another 30 cal. And I really, really love those units. They are fantastic. If you don't have these in your Luftwaffe deck, I believe you're doing stuff wrong, because they are probably one of the best fire support units in terms of cost or value, basically. Value for money is what I'm looking for. And they're the best value for money fire support unit that the 16th Luftwaffe can get, in my opinion. Just really, really nice that both the Flak 38 and the MG 34 have such a good HE together. And the 20 mils against the infantry just stunned so well. Now Focke-Wulf 190 there. That's going to come in and take out some of the airborne engineers. The Mustang is trying to shoot that down, very much so. But with the amount of AA I have in the form of these 3 Flak Panzer Brens and the 88, we actually end up shooting down the Mustang in reply. Now we make the airborne rifles surrender here, so I'm actually pushing through with this bunch of infantry. But on this side of things, airborne engineers make my Luftwaffe Jäger surrender. I should have had this Luftwaffe Führer a little bit further up. B-26B Marauder going to be coming in, bombing the crap out of all of this infantry. I'm going to be losing one of my Luftwaffe Jäger squads and the Luftwaffe Führer, which was rather unfortunate. Now I'm actually bringing up these Panzerjäger Brens. Like, instead of using Flak Panzer Brens, Panzerjäger Brens have a completely different dynamic. They can kill like units like trucks pretty easily. So if a truck was like coming down the road here, these Panzerjägers not only have a chance of killing the truck and killing the infantry outright, but they also have 10 round per minute rate of fire with 2 HE, which is actually pretty decent fire support for infantry. And you can see I do have reinforcing infantry now on the way. Luftwaffe Aufklärer, they do get unloaded in here, get burnt out by the airborne engineers. I was hoping that the UE-630 with the MG there would be able to attack and kill the airborne engineers, as it is enclosed. So yeah, it's not going to die. It might get forced to fall back, but it won't die. And yeah, then we could kill off the airborne engineers. But instead, what's going to happen? Airborne engineers are going to open up with their flamethrowers onto the Luftwaffe Jäger. They're going to kill those. They are actually going to make my UE-630 fall back with the help of the Bofors, and that's going to surrender as well. So that attack just completely messed up, and again, should have had this Luftwaffe Führer just that little bit further forwards. If I had it here, for example, it would have been able to give veterancy to the Luftwaffe Jäger, giving the 630 enough time to either run away or actually kill off the airborne engineers. But still, we're kind of just over our halfway on this side. And I have the push coming up with the extra infantry squads. Flak-Zwilling is going to be ripping to shreds those rifles. And these are Luftwaffe Pioneers now. So I've got plenty of room to work with. The Luftwaffe Pioneers at close range absolutely demolish enemy infantry. Let's just watch my point proven as these Pioneers blow the crap out of the airborne rifles with a 20 HE power grenade. I've also got this command to follow up and help out as well. Now I can see that these airborne rifles don't have any command with them, so I was hoping that the Luftwaffe Pioneer Luftwaffe Führer combo would be able to pin them down and I might be able to make them surrender, but Steve Budd smartly pulls back with those infantry. Silhouette still fighting over the town on this side, and Gonzo's gone and taken the enemy town on his side. The Paradox Obscurus not having a fun time over there, and neither is Dagger 1 Bravo. But Steve Budd putting up a decent fight here, although I have been taking out a lot of his expensive infantry with my not so expensive infantry, which is actually a quite big deal, because eventually what ends up happening is it builds up to a point where you have just like way more forces than the opponent in terms of points on the field, and yeah, there's just going to be nothing left for Steve Budd. The only benefit he has is that this terrain really suits the 101st, which is why I can't be as aggressive as I otherwise would be. And my 80mm mortars here, they're going to be trying to counter battery their 60mm mortars. The trouble is, these mortars, they can move so damn quickly. And I was lucky, they were lucky there that that 80mm mortar didn't actually hit its mark. By the way, with this Flak-Zwilling hanging about, Spitfire Mark 9 is going to be lucky to get away from that alive. And most certainly is this time. These Flak-Zwillings are absolutely awesome. Like the double 37mm, don't really get much better than that. And here we can see exactly what I was talking about when it comes down to these Panzerjägers and their dynamic, is that they shoot and kill carriers. So that was actually a Lloyd carrier there pulling a 6-pounder, and we got the 6-pounder kill with that Panzerjäger Bren because of it, which is really nice. Trying to get this Panzerschreck into range of the M22. We're going for that kill there. Job done. And I've got the Stür 42 now moving over to the left side to assist in taking out the airborne rifles. Panzerschreck goes down soon after revealing itself. And again, Panzerjäger Bren taking out a rifle squad there. Just really, really nice support that helps you with both armoured targets and infantry. Whereas Flak Panzer Brens, they're not as good at all against armoured targets. Another Spitfire Mark 9, making the mistake of coming in and flying over a Flak-Zwilling. This time, not so lucky. Gonna get shot down. The beauty of the 16th Luftwaffe.
We surrender.
is that their AA actually does damage. Now I have the SFH 369 here firing away. That's to provide me some long range fire support against these 60mm mortars. Another Mustang going to be coming in. This one actually dropped its bombs pretty early onto the Stur 42. So he is going to get out of there. If he dropped it later and flown right over my Flakzwilling, I reckon that would have been another dead aircraft. But now the opponent also has their own longer range artillery in the form of the M3 howitzers, and they're going to kill off my Flak 38 unwittingly, as that was kind of sat near where my mortars used to be. I'm having a little bit of a trouble here. Stur 42 is being forced to fall back by the M5A1. So what I need to do is force their M5A1 to fall back so that my Stur 42 can recover and get out of there. Or at least just finish its job, which was to kill the 30 cal. So I'm looking to do that right now. I've also got HS-129 flying over, as you can see. That's just going to try and pick off any armoured targets that it can see. Misses all of its rounds onto the M22, and the M22 is going to survive another day. A few rockets coming down from the Thunderbolt there before it gets forced to fall back onto the Stur 42. Again, another plane that's pretty lucky to be alive. Massive oil leak there as it gets out. I do have another 88 on the way to help me with my anti-air, and I have now brought up another one of these SFHs. I just haven't unloaded it yet. I do have a little bit of recon at the front line in terms of these Fusiliers, but you can see that because of the sight lines, it's really hard for me to know exactly what's ahead of myself, which is what's causing me some trouble in moving forwards. But we're well over halfway now, 60% territory lead, mostly due to Gonzo and Silhouette on this right side pushing way past the 50-50. But we're still doing our job here. Luftwaffe Fusilier. Going to be trying to take out the M1 gun. My mortars firing away onto the 60mm mortars of the opponents. And of course the SFH 369. Going to be helping out as well as soon as I remember that they're there. Eventually what I did was control group them so I couldn't really forget about them. AC starting. Luftwaffe Fusilier under fire from the M5A1, so I'm going to be trying to sneak up the Panzerjägerbrenn here, but I'm only going to attack that if I have to. So I'm actually going to use the HS-129B3 first to try and take that out. So in he comes. This is the one with the 16 AP cannon on it. Boom, one shot. Now, the other plan was that the HS-129 would just sort of force it to fall back, and then the Panzerjägerbrenn could like charge round and kill it. That was the other idea that I had at the time. But now I've brought up a bunch of these MG271s, and the idea of having all of these is just to rip to shreds their infantry. I take out the M1 gun there, the glider rifles in the open. They're now going to get smashed to pieces by the 9 HE of these MGs. And usually I wouldn't take MGs past phase A, but these are MGs with 9 HE and 7 accuracy. They demolish infantry squads. They've also got 5 health, which is actually quite generous. So it makes them quite hard to kill. But at this phase in the game, where you need sort of a platform to push from, these MGs do the job, and if you've got them in the right sight lines, then they'll definitely be very helpful. So it's very hard for me to push over this left side, just because my infantry is inferior to theirs. It's pretty hard for me to push over this bridge, because my concentration is on this right side. So I'm actually going to be trying to cross over this bridge, and, well, as I was planning to do that, my opponent actually surrenders. So here comes the Marauder once again. That's going to be going for the bombing strike onto my Panzerjägerbrenn there. Isn't actually going to get the kill. Takes a lot of damage from my AA. Doesn't get shot down though. If I had a second Flak-Zwilling, I reckon that probably could have died. Those Flak-Zwillings just so damn good. But yeah, either way, MG271 still firing away. Another glider rifle squad becoming victim to that. And since it's now AI, I can push even harder. Even though before I wasn't actually pushing too hard at all. I was kind of playing it very, very slowly. Just chilling out. 271 there, getting line of sight onto the enemy Bofors. And that's just going to melt that Bofors. You can see how quickly the health drops on the Bofors there once it gets on target. Going to force the Bofors to fall back. I've now got this HS-129 just hanging about. This is again the HS-129 with the 16 HE cannon, waiting for a target to pop up. I know there's an M10 somewhere because I saw it earlier. That's currently fallen back for now. So I've just got to find the way to push through. And currently it's looking like this bridge, since I'm almost prepared to do so. With the Panzerjäger Bren supporting my infantry, there shouldn't be too much that can get in my way, other than some maybe heavy armor. But I know that I'm playing against 101st, so I don't necessarily have to worry about that. Stuff 42 also starting to roll up as well. The trouble is, since it's the AI is going to start probing me elsewhere. So you can see the movements down in this bottom left area that I'm not really necessarily prepared for. So that's going to become a factor as we continue towards the end of the game. It's already 1,700 points in our favour, and there's only 6 minutes left until total victory according to the timer. So not too long to go. Now bring in that Storch just to provide some off-map. It's going to be going for the hits onto the enemy infantry here as they start to group up. And then following that, I can push through with my reinforcements, which you can see are just about to come up. So if I timed it correctly, we should be fine. I've also actually got my artillery coming down, the SFHs. They're firing at these Bofors. And you can see there the HS-129 came in, took out the Locust and the M20 command. Now since the off-map was a little bit late, my Luftwaffe Fusilier squads ended up being forced to unload, when otherwise I would have just driven across and taken up positions as soon as their units had fallen back. So that's that. Panzerjäger Bren going to be helping with the engagement onto the glider rifles. MG271 going to be slamming those rifles. And the Focke-Wulf 190. That was going for the shot onto all of these units. I saw them grouping up there. So Focke-Wulf 190 was the perfect choice in order to make multiple squads fall back. Yeah, like I was saying before, there's now a small push coming through here. Glider rifles accompanied by airborne rifles and the airborne leader. They're pushing through towards my Luftwaffe Fusilier. So I'm actually going to try and bring in some artillery to attack that left side. And then maybe with the artillery combination plus some infantry, I can just make them surrender. At least that was what I was hoping for. Now I've kind of discussed this before when it comes down to the 101st. Best way to counter them is probably with artillery. If you bring in like enough mortars and long range artillery to pin down their infantry just becomes useless, and then you can just run it down with your own infantry. So that's just a really strong way to do it. The only trouble comes when your opposing 101st player uses their own longer range artillery early on, like M1 howitzers, in which case you might have your mortars countered early on, and it might become pretty hard for you to continuously pin down their infantry. As well as that, there's also the use of Locusts and M8s that you have to be worried about, especially as, for example, the 16th Luftwaffe or the 716th or the 352nd. Because unless you have like AT guns in the right position, those vehicles can actually do quite a lot of damage. Like that M8 Greyhound there can definitely savage some infantry squads and run them down. But fortunately, we're going to be dropping off very close to them, Panzerfausting it in the face, and that's going to allow these Luftwaffe Jägers to take up position in order to mow down these glider rifles with the help of the Stutt 42. So we're finally breaking across the river. The M22 gets bailed out by the 88 that I've brought up as a reinforcement there. And my Luftwaffe Jaeger did get taken down on this left side. Now I of course have the 80mm mortars here to help out, and they were doing a relatively good job as we continued. I've also got the UE 630 providing some MG support as well. But it's all about this push at the moment. Got quite a lot of Luftwaffe Jäger together, and this could be quite vulnerable to a B-26B. But I'm not so worried, as a lot of this infantry is expendable. And when I get this MG271 into this building, any infantry that comes down this road is going to get massacred. And that's exactly what's happening at the moment. All this infantry just getting wrecked. Of course this is AI. But still. Eventually managed to push across the river against this 101st Division. And considering the terrain was in the favour of the 101st, I think we did pretty well at the start of the game as well. Glider rifles being finished off there. And just going to continue the push forwards with 1 minute and 25 seconds remaining. Airborne mortar getting taken down by my Luftwaffe Fusilier. This was actually quite funny. Where I'd brought in all of the Fusiliers here and they got forced to unload, I actually ended up spreading them out. And you can see that I've got quite deep into enemy territory here with a bunch of Luftwaffe Fusiliers. They don't affect the front lines, so they're just sneaking through and taking out quite a lot of stuff. HS-129 comes in and one bangs the M5A1. Also manages to get the kill onto the M10. So pick that up eventually. And good job by the HS-129. The 16 AP is absolutely glorious because you only need like one shot to land on target and you get the kill generally all the time. Now I've also got the BEO Storch coming in. That's just going to give me information about what's on the ground. And I'm going to drop an artillery strike onto the M20 commands and the engineers there. However, that's not going to land before the end of the game because, of course, there's only 20 seconds left on the clock. M5A1 does get its engine destroyed. Airborne leader taken out by the 88. And my push is still going through here. The engineers and glider rifles just getting hammered as I continue forwards. Panzerjägerbrenn trying to take on a Stuart. If that had continued, the Panzerjägerbrenn probably would have died. But after 30 minutes and 34 seconds, that is a total victory. And we slammed that left side with a 2-1 KD. 2,201 kills to 925 losses. Jolly good indeed. Silhouette, fantastic job again. 2,961 kills to 1,500 losses. Absolutely fantastic player. And Barber Papa holding his ground where I put the defense marker, which was great. And Gonzo doing a nice push on the right side to sort of break through in the early to mid game. Unfortunately, our opponent struggling a little bit in this one, but still a fun game nonetheless. And if we jump down to the kills, it was pretty spread out, honestly. The HS-129 did pick up the M5A1s, the M22 and the M10, paying itself off quite nicely. We did see the Flak-Zwilling shoot down the Spitfire Mark 9, and a lot of my infantry traded at least 1 for 1, or at least like 2 for 1 even. Especially these Luftwaffe Pioneers. This one taking out 2 units of airborne rifles. Really, really nice job indeed. This HS-129 actually only taking out an M22 and an M20 command. Without any veterancy, these HS-129s often struggle to actually kill stuff, which can be quite frustrating. But this is something that we've got to look out for in the late game, as these MG271s slamming the enemy infantry into the ground. And we have the Luftwaffe Fusiliers sneaking in and taking out the airborne mortars. And that's pretty much your lot. P-51 took out my Pak-38. Airborne engineers getting quite a nice couple kills every now and then, but it just wasn't enough. I played around my artillery quite nicely and was able to sort of pin down the airborne engineers before they could get in range with their flamethrowers. The only thing I would say from the opposing side, he needed like M1 howitzers at the start to not only counter my own mortars, but also provide smoke for those airborne engineers to get close and do their damage with those flamethrowers. So that's probably the main tip I would probably give my opponent. But that's all for now, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.